सश्रद्धम् आह्वयामि कृपया मञ्चम् अलङ्कुर्वन्तु इति। अहमिदानीम् अन्नाराव कुलकर्णी वर्यान् अनुरुन्धे स्वकीयं वक्तव्यम् अत्र उपस्थापयन्तु इति।
Good evening to all. Am I audible? Yeah, good evening to all. At the outset, I thank NSU for giving me an opportunity to talk on this occasion. I like to come to this organization to learn from the great scholars. But when VC sir asked to come here and give a talk, it was difficult to talk in front of scholars. But what I thought was how I am using the Indian knowledge systems in the computer science. That experience I can come and share with you people. With that intention, I will start my presentation. So basically my agenda is like how the ancient Indian scientific knowledge base is useful in the computer science application. That I am going to talk. And what are the scope for interdisciplinary research with reference to Vyakarana and Nyaya Shastra and Shiksha Shastra, and what are the challenge and possible solutions we can have. So when it comes to Indian knowledge systems, it comprises of Veda, Vedangas, Upangas, Darshanas, and also other traditional knowledge base like tribal medicines or best practices of tribals in the agriculture. So this forms our knowledge systems. Basically, our ancestors have given the ancient Indian scientific knowledge base in the form of 14 Vidyasthanas, 64 Kalas. It is in the base of fundamental research or the basic research. So what do you mean by basic research? Like finding the electricity is a basic research, and finding the fan, refrigerator out of that is the applied research. So I feel like in IKS applied went to the professional knowledge, it forms the interdisciplinary research, and we can develop many applications based on our ancient Indian scientific knowledge base. So for me, the knowledge is defined differently in our Shastras. So it is for different purpose. But now we have made professional knowledge. So when the professional knowledge meets the actual knowledge, Indian knowledge systems, then the interdisciplinary research happens. So the IKS plus the interaction with it may be information technology or with the mathematics or mechanical engineering or civil engineering, then we found the interdisciplinary research. Thanks to Government of India, and sir is there, this taken from the objective and vision of this thing. So it is clearly defined that what is the Prayojana, Laukika and Drishti. Sir has, Ganti sir has explained nicely what are these concepts in the morning session. So Government of India has initiated the IKS division. Now a lot of projects are funded and the research is happening. So IKS is now introduced in the curriculum itself, so that the students are exposed to our ancient Indian scientific knowledge base in the form of Veda, Vedangas and Upangas, Darshanas, and how we can apply those knowledge to the computer science. So when it comes to scope of interdisciplinary research in IKS, I have three perspectives like preserve, publish and propagate. So these are in all these three, preserving and publishing and propagating. In all these three fields, we can have the interdisciplinary research. So if you take it, what is the scope for research when it comes to preserving is, one is manuscript processing, the other one is ancient Indian scripts like Nandinagari, Sharada and Grantha, audio recording of lectures from the scholars, publishing the manuscripts. This comes under preserving. So in the morning sir was mentioning only about 7% of the manuscripts we have are published, remaining are unpublished. Lot of knowledge is hidden in them. So we have to develop a tool. We have developed a basic tool for manuscript processing. So once you scan the image, you can load the images into the software. Looking at the image, scholars can create the content of that image. That is why we should create such a tool is because if you type it in a text or a doc format, then it will not be stored in the database. So if you have a tool and for the corresponding images, if you store the text, then it will be in the database format. Then you can further analyze. You can transliterate the text or translate the text, and also you can search once it is in a database format. So what is the research aspect here? We can create the OCR for handwritten manuscripts, and also recording of the manuscripts. So most of the manuscripts are in the Grantha Nandinagari. For them, the scholars are not available. So what we can develop a tool is like looking at the image, can you record the content of the manuscript? This is one research area, and once the content of the manuscript is recorded, then we can use speech to text interface to convert the content of the manuscript to the text. So what are the challenges here? Non-availability of fonts for the ancient Indian scripts like Nandinagari, Sharda, Tiglari and Vedic, etc. So once the earlier 8-bit fonts were used for typing, then the word shifted to the Unicode. So in order to have the fonts, Unicode fonts for this scripts, these scripts need to be added to the Unicode consortium. So each of these scripts should get a Unicode code page. Once the code page is assigned, then we can develop the Unicode fonts. So scholars can create the basic characters, vowels, consonant and matras for these scripts, and ask Ministry of Information Technology to and request them to add all our ancient Indian script to the Unicode consortium. Once the scripts are added to the Unicode, then we can develop the fonts for this Sharda, Nandinagari, etc. Already some Nandinagari and Sharda, some of the efforts are made and fonts are available, but they are all proprietary fonts. Once the fonts are available, then we can create the contents of the manuscripts which are in the ancient scripts in their original form. Then course for teaching the ancient scripts. Very few scholars are there who know the ancient scripts. So you can also create the course for teaching the ancient scripts and the database of experts knowing the ancient scripts. I think there may be some initiative from the IKS side. So there are only few scholars who know some rare scripts. If you create the database of the experts knowing the ancient scripts, it will be useful. So development of fonts again is an interdisciplinary work. So how do you create fonts when we use Times New Roman in the MS Word, right? So many fonts are there, Courier, Times New Roman, like that. Basically font is nothing but a mathematical curve. It is a Bezier curve or a cubic or quadratic curve. Because it is a mathematical curve, we are able to resize the font size, increase or decrease the font size. So in order to create the fonts, we need the linguistics background, calligraphy and information technology background. So tools like Fontographer, font creators are there. So the scholars from the ancient scripts and Sanskrit languages, including the Vedic text, even for the Vedics, we don't have the aesthetic fonts. In order to type the Anudat, Udat, Swarit, the keyboards are not standardized. That is the current status now. So the scholars, this is again a research work. We have to identify the glyphs of the ancient scripts, map it to the Unicode, get the code page for Unicode, and create the fonts. This is one of these are some of the Sharda scripts, Nandinagari script, Grantha script, and this is what I am talking about is the keyboard standard for typing the Vedic accents. So you have many keyboard standards like InScript keyboard layout, phonetic keyboard layout, like that. Suppose if you want to type 5 types of swaras or Anudatta, Udatta, Swarita, there is no keyboard standard. So Government of India has adopted ISKI, Indian Script Code for Information Interstage. Earlier that InScript keyboard layout was the Indian government standard for typing in Indian language. On top of that, we need to add the standards for typing the Vedic accents. So when it comes to publishing, we have to publish all the remaining manuscripts which are yet to be published, and the proof for claims. Here again the Western words they are patenting based on our ideas like Haldi, Neem and all. So there is a scope for interdisciplinary research. Scholars and the Center for Excellence in other domains like mathematics or civil engineering, they should come together, and whatever is already published in our ancient Indian scientific knowledge base, they have to prove and publish to the outside world. Otherwise, the Westerners will try to keep that. So zero is invented by them, Pythagoras theorem, all those things they are making the false claim that they have invented. So publishing is one of the areas we can concentrate, and publish abstract of IKS texts. Here lot of knowledge is there in our scientific knowledge base, but we don't know the significance of those texts. If you take Amarkosha, what is there in the Amarkosha, we don't know. If you take Bhojana Kutuhalam or Kshema Kutuhalam, it contains the text about culinary, so what we should eat, what we should not eat. Already all those things are said in our granthas, so much knowledge is there. But how the outside come to know that those things are there available in this text? So students can take one book and write the abstract of that book, what it contains, like a Wikipedia of Sanskrit knowledge base. If that thing is published, then at least the outside world come to know that if I have this issue or the problem, which text I have to choose in the grammar. These are 3 points in publishing. Now I'll come to one example, actually how linguistics is useful for computer science application. Okay, LIDG means language independent dictionary generation. In the suppose I think all of you have used the protecting your doc file or the PDF file. So you use the password protected PDF or doc files in order to just give it to the correct recipients. Whoever has the password, only those people can use it. Now the security agencies intercept those communication, and if they get some PDF or doc file or steganography image file, then how to break that password? That is the challenge. So modern ciphers are very tough to break actually. So we have to guess the password, then only you can open. So if you use AS256 and all, you cannot simply break that. Either you have to brute force that, or you have to guess the correct password. How do you guess the correct password? Usually the passwords are of named entities, name of the person, place or organization. Like Kulkarni means Kulkarni 123 or NSU 123, that like that. So my problem is generate all the name of the person, place and organization. Is it possible? That is the problem. So we can use this concept of like we have already know that suppose if we have Kulkarni, so we have 3 consonants or 2 consonants, definitely after followed by that 2 or 3 consonants there will be a vowel. Fine. So like Kulkarni is there KU, that then consonant K is the consonant, U is the vowel. Then LKA means consonant and vowel. This concept we can use it to generate any words. So what we have to do is we use the integer partition algorithm to generate any name of the person, place or organization. Take for example number 6. 6 can be partitioned into 5 plus 1, 4 plus 2, 4 plus 1 plus 1. This is the famous algorithm given by our mathematician Ramanujan sir, the integer partition. How this can be used to generate all the names of the person, place, organization. Now take for example P9. P9 is 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. If you take the permutation of all 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, again you will get 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, like this. Now if it is a 2, then it is CV. If it is 3, then it is CCV, like that. If you make, then I can generate any combination of, if I can generate the name of the person, place, organization of any length. So we have considered up to 10 actually. Now my problem is possible consonant clusters. If K plus K will become K, then P plus R will become Pr, but which is not possible. How to find that? Any insights are there from the Shiksha Shastra which will tell that this combination is not possible? After K halant K, is it possible? Or Bh के बाद म आएगा क्या? Bh, it will become M. Such, is it possible? So if I take the Cartesian product of consonants and consonants, which is possible, which is not possible? This is again my I don't know anything is defined in that. This is where we need the insights from the Shiksha Shastra or Vyakarana Shastra, which combinations are not possible, so that the dictionary size is drastically reduced for search space. Coming to the Nyaya Shastra based logic programming and inference, previous Sudarshan sir talked about model concept. So what is basically a model and how Nyaya Shastra is applicable to the computer science and mathematics. So formal model specification, formal model proving, theorem proving, theory of errors and inference. Here, how we can apply Nyaya Shastra, it is the thought process. So what is the formal specification, formal model, theorem proving? Formal specification is nothing but when we develop a software, the first step is requirement gathering. Once the requirement gathering is done, then we design the system based on the requirement to satisfy those requirements. After designing the system, we implement it, then testing, then handover. This is a typical step in the software life cycle development. But what happens if something goes wrong in the design itself? Okay, based on the requirement, we design the model. Okay, based on the model, we implement it. But how do you check that the model or the design you have done is correct or not? That is the nothing but the formal model. We create a formal model, that is a mathematical model. Then we try to prove that the design is correct before implementing it. How do you use the Nyaya Shastra for that? Secondly, when we do the requirement gathering, that time how the requirements are gathered in a mathematical way. So instead of writing the requirement in a normal language, we can write the requirements in a mathematical notations using the logic operators. Once the requirements are written in the mathematical notations and your design is also in a mathematical form, then these requirements can be analyzed based on the requirements. This is the thought process. So in the modern logic, we have propositional logic, predicate logic, and temporal logic. Logic is a study of valid reasoning to arrive at a consequence based on the valid antecedents. So formal logics, what we do is we use the first order logic or higher order logic. Similarly, in case of Nyaya Shastra, we use Panchavayavas. In the informal logic is basically talks about the natural language and how you try to prove the things using the natural language. So if you take the Nyaya Shastra, we have Panchavayavas, Pratijna, Hetu, Udaharana, Upanaya and Nigama. Similarly, in case of modern logic system, we have hypothesis, proposition, first order logic, inference and QED. When it comes to inference part, many techniques we use like Hoare logic or theorem provers, that sort of things will come into that concept. Now the thought process here is how the Nyaya Shastra can be used for all these formal methods for developing the formal model and formal specification. Formal specification is nothing but capturing the requirements in a mathematical way rather than writing the requirements in a natural language. Formal model is nothing but whatever the flowchart we have the computer system. Can I capture that whole flowchart in the mathematical notations? That is nothing but the formal model. How Nyaya Shastra is applicable to mathematics and computer science? This is the thought process. The same thing can be written like every man is mortal, king is a man, king is so, king is mortal. So if you compare this, the for all x, man of x is implies mortal of x. This is Hetu. King is a man is Udaharana. King is a mortal, so it is Pratijna. So the same thing can be whatever has been told in a Panchavayavas, that can be represented in the form of the current day logic also. So formal proof system, what the current theorem proving is based on the Hoare logic. Based on the antecedents, we arrive at the consequent. In between antecedents and the consequence, there are set of statements. Based on the after executing the set of statements, we arrive at the consequent. Now, how do you prove that the whatever the functions you have written in the computer programming language, they are correct or not? That is the thought process. How the Nyaya Shastra can be applied to this system. So we have propositional logic, predicate logic, and higher order logic. So higher order logic includes computational tree logic and linear temporal logic. So how these things can be compared or clubbed with the Nyaya Shastra to develop a new system which is indigenous. Okay, these are some of the examples how the natural language sentences can be written in a mathematical way. Suppose M is a proposition having manuscript is scanned in the library. S is a statement, manuscript is scanned, R is manuscript can be requested. So these are the propositions, and if you write the same, manuscript can be requested if it is in the library, manuscript can be requested if it is in the library and if it is scanned, then only you can issue. The same thing can be written in a mathematical way. R implies M or S, M and S. This is the mathematical way of writing the notations. So when you develop the system, that model also we have to create in a mathematical way, so that in order to prove that the design is correct, all these requirements are verified against the formal model. This is the thought process and how our Nyaya Shastra helps in proving these things. So this is the abstract model. Suppose why the formal methods are used in the mission critical systems. If the design goes wrong, then it's a havoc, like creates a catastrophic effect. So in the mission critical systems, first we have to analyze and prove that the design is correct, then only you go for implementation of the system. There the formal models are used, and the thought process is how the Nyaya Shastra can be used for this. And again we have coming to the theorem proving. We have Hoare logic, Promola and spin, and the new SMU and computational and linear temporal logic. And if you have a SAT solver, for if you have any Boolean equations, you use SAT solvers. And Prolog is an old programming language based on the first order logic. Okay, so you write the propositions for the system, and the relation between the objects is written, and based on the those things, Prolog will help us to create the inference. So this is the other application of Nyaya Shastra is for error analysis. Okay, so Nyaya Shastra gives, so these are some of the illusions. What is the error analysis? In statistics we have two types of errors, type 1 and type 2 error. Okay, in the we talk about errors in case of AI applications also. When the system claims that it is correct, but actually it is true, actually it is wrong, then it is type 1 error, and you accept the system as, when the system says that the fact is true but actually it is wrong, then it is type 2 errors. Two types of error can happen. In Nyaya Shastra, theory of error known as Khyatiyavada explains how and why the errors occur. So Nyaya, there is a beautiful explanation about why and how the error occurs. For example, if you take this 3728910 is there, and if the computer science AI application is developed to identify the numbers using the OCR, so 3 is misinterpreted as 8 or 1 is misinterpreted as 7. Okay, similarly there is a overfitting concept in the artificial intelligence. When you train the system for a particular data set, it works very fine, but if you give the new data set, it will not work properly. Suppose if you feed the wrong sentences to the artificial intelligence algorithm, then it learns the wrong things. So like for example, the case markers are not separate in Kannada, they are suffixed to the root actually, but whenever the halant comes, Akbar, that halant comes, then the case markers are separated and written in Kannada, and such corpus if you give to the system, it will learn the wrong things, and when I translate them, it gives the wrong thing, as if it has learned the wrong thing actually. Similarly, in case of the first one, maybe it is the training error or the number of samples given is less. What exactly went wrong in all these things? Overfitting. All those things are similar concepts are there in Nyaya Shastra also, like Asat Khyati, Anyata Khyati, Akhyati, Viparita Khyati, okay, and Anirvachaniya Khyati. And Nyaya philosophy argue that errors can be corrected through proper reasoning and analysis, leading to a clear understanding of the reality. How our Nyaya Shastra can be applied for the error analysis? This may be one of the research areas. Then application of Sanskrit grammar to the natural language processing, neural machine translation, how our Karka theory can be used for machine translation system, and dealing with ambiguity in the sentence, how our Akanksha, Yogita and Sanidhi defined in the Nyaya Shastra can be used for natural language processing. So coming to the neural machine translation, the concept of machine translation start with the rule based system, then they went for the statistical based machine translation system. Both of them didn't work, then they tried hybrid approach. Hybrid was also not working, then they shifted to the neural machine translation system. the neural machines are translations are giving the very good output nowadays because they think like a human brain. But how the neural machine translation system is working based on the transformers, you have to give the two language parallel corpus. Then the machine will automatically learn the grammar and translate the sentence and give it to us. The output, the quality is proportional to the number of sentences you are giving for learning and the quality of the sentences. These two things, and the people claim that 10 million very good corpus is sufficient to give 97% accuracy data. So what we can do is, we have a lot of student base here across Central Sanskrit University, National Sanskrit University. Each student can contribute in creating the parallel corpus from Sanskrit to English and Sanskrit to other Hindi, or similarly Hindi to Sanskrit and English to Sanskrit. If the students can join together, then we can create a very big parallel corpus for Sanskrit, and India can develop our own machine translation system compared to Google. So Karaka theory, because neural machine translations are based on the data, it is not depending on the grammar basically. Because of this, lot of ambiguity is there. Despite feeding very big corpus, there are still ambiguities in the sentence. So dealing with ambiguity of the sentence, how Akanksha, Yogyata and Sanidhi can be used for dealing with the ambiguity in the machine translation system. For example, मैंने दाढ़ी करके ऑफिस आया, मैं खुद का दाढ़ी करके या दूसरों का दाढ़ी करके आया. There is ambiguity. So my wife loves dog more than my husband. Something like it creates the ambiguity. So the current day machine translation systems are not able to deal with the ambiguity. Can we explain the concept of disambiguating the what is the correct this thing machine translation for that? How can we use this concept of Akanksha, Yogyata and Sanidhi? How can we apply the Karaka theory to explain? And we are working on one of the projects, how the Sanskrit grammar act as a interlingua for machine translation between the actors. So it is a universal, Sanskrit is a is a universal grammar. How the concept of Karaka, Akanksha, Yogyata can be used for improving the machine translation system. This is one of the area of research. Then creating the text corpus, I have already talked about. We have to create a very huge Sanskrit text corpus from Sanskrit to Indian language and plus Sanskrit to English and vice versa. Once the text corpus is ready, technology is ready. Similarly, same applies to the speech corpus and annotated corpus we have to generate. We can annotate the corpus using part of speech, morphology and Karaka. For each of the sentence, we can mark all those things. We can also create the annotated corpus, and development of machine translation and text to speech system, which will help in translating the content which is in the Sanskrit to other Indian language and other Indian language to the Sanskrit. This is about the data. This is the scope for interdisciplinary research, data and tool development. And Shiksha Shastra, how it is useful. Okay, so the place of articulation is defined in our Shiksha Shastra. The Shiksha Shastra talks about phonetics. I am not an expert of Shiksha Shastra, but I know what is given in that thing. So how it is useful. So Matra and Prayatna, if you take the current machine translation, the text to this thing, speech systems, it is monotonous, like where to give the gap between the words, how much gap we have to give, how much the gap we should give after the sentence boundary. All those things we can get the insights from the Shiksha Shastra. Here it is clearly given Matra and Prayatna, and we have the also beautiful Swara systems like Anudatta, Udatta, Swarita, where to increase the speech, how to decrease where to decrease the speech. All those things can be applied for developing the speech engines. And one more thing is we have the place of articulations. Can you publish something like which combination is possible and which is not possible? When you pronounce a word, is Kantha possible after Danta or the place of articulation, or can I have Nasika ke baad Danta aega kya? So is there any such a rule? That is one of the thought process we can do, publish something. So how this will help is the language recognition. In each of the language have their own characteristics. Like Telugu, you have ending with the mu, Ramu, the mu ending is more. If you take Malayalam, la is more prominent. Okay, based on the phonemes, we can identify the language. That is the thought process. And which combination is not possible? Suppose if you want to create the tongue twisters, you can create out. If you take the Cartesian product of 8 by 8, can A D possible after F means Danta possible after Nasika? That combination, can we have some published work so that it will help in developing the tongue twisters, or also identifying the, it will help in identifying the language. Then Veda Vikriti is one of the things we can have. We have the Ashta Vikritis, Prakriti and Vikriti. In the Padapata, if I have the Padapata of the Samhita, then can I generate the Vikritis from that? For that, we need to have the, we have to implement the Vedic Sandhis and Swara Sandhis, all those. When if you want to generate the Vikritis from the Padapata, what we have to use is the Vedic Sandhis. So this is one of the areas pending for the research. Then the scope for interdisciplinary research, from the Nigantu and Nirukta and Nyaya Shastra, we can create the ontologies. Now word is talking about knowledge graphs. If you take the DBpedia, it is nothing but the knowledge extracted from all the Wikipedia and given in the form of triplets. Like we have the entity, you have the attribute and the value. Sachin Tendulkar is the entity and the relation is date of birth and the value is given. So entire Wikipedia is converted into the knowledge graph and published in the form of knowledge, and in the form of knowledge graph, and is in the, it is in the available in the DBpedia. So how the entities are related, that is defined in the DBpedia ontology. So in order to define the ontology, we can take the insights from Nyaya Shastra, Nigantu and Nirukta, and the applications of Shiksha Shastra for text to speech system developing, and sound and music therapy is also people talk about. In one of the YouTube videos you can verify, Demans doctor has published Nirvana Shatakam. When it is pronounced, this thing recited, then the gamma rays are produced in the bone, in the brain. That video is there. So they put that gadget in the head, and when she recites, the gamma ray oscillations are shown in the screen. So already a lot of research is going on this wave. So the impact of Vedic recitations and other shlokas, how do you treat some of the diseases, and people, texts like Bhojana Kutuhalam, Kshema Kutuhalam, there are many texts which are relevant to the current life, which talks about culinary and our what food we should eat, what food we should not eat, all those things are given. We have to publish the abstract of all the Sanskrit knowledge base, so that the outside world come to know that if this knowledge is defined in this text, this knowledge is defined in. So students can take some of the interest in adding, creating the abstract of each text. So our ancestors have given the very good knowledge in the field of mathematics, astrology, yoga, Ayurveda, metallurgy, civil engineering. Already lot of things are published in this regard. So what we can do is, we can Center for Excellence for all these fields are already there, and you are the Center for Excellence in the IKS system. So you have to interact with those other Center for Excellence, come together when these two circles meet. So currently what is there? There is a circle with the knowledge of ancient Indian scientific. There is a circle, many circles with the knowledge of other disciplines. When these circles come together, if you say take the intersection, the person who have the knowledge of IKS plus the other discipline is very less actually. So they have to come together, and once the overlap happens, then the interdisciplinary research will give the very good research. Some of the challenges rounds is we can create the challenge rounds and hackathons between the interdisciplinary research. You can challenge the computer scientists, or the computer scientist may ask the insight from the Sanskrit people. So interdisciplinary hackathons can happen. Here both the teams can come together and try to solve the problem and establish the platform for interdisciplinary research. So there are many interested students and many institutes are there, but how do you, suppose if I want to get something, I want to learn or get the insights from the Shiksha Shastra to solve my problem, where I have to go? If there is a database, sir is there. If you have, you can publish the database of scholars who want to contribute in the science of field of computer science. Similarly, other disciplines, they can directly go to that page, and this student is interested in working, or this scholar, I can go and get the knowledge of Shiksha Shastra to solve my problem. So we have to establish the platform for interdisciplinary research and platform for collaboration. With this thought process, I'll conclude my talk. So it is a synchronous effort between the two teams. Hope this will happen very quickly and for the better humanity. With this thought process, I'll conclude my talk.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful and thought-provoking speech. You have shown us what is to be done in the future, and then the most important thing is the synchronous nature. Like you have mentioned, there is one set of scholars who are good in traditional knowledge, there is this other set who are good in Western knowledge. We need to create a coherence between these two, and only then I think the future will lead to good results. Thank you again for your speech. अहमिदानीं सत्रस्य अध्यक्षवर्यान् अनुरुन्धे ते कृपया आगत्य किञ्चित् बोधयन्तु अस्मान्.
नमस्सभायै श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. मनुकुलं सर्वदा चिन्तनपरम्. अतएव चिन्तनपरत्वादेव अस्य इतरेभ्यः जन्तुभ्यः विशेषः इत्युच्यते. सर्वदापि नूतनान् आविष्कारान् सः कुर्वन्नास्ति. वेद आरभ्य इत्युक्ते विश्वस्य सर्वप्रथमं यत् साहित्यम् उपलभ्यते, यत् लिखितम् अथवा किञ्चित् कृतकम् उपलभ्यते, वेदः कृतकः इति न वदन् अस्मि. यतः भवन्तः सर्वेपि साम्प्रदायिकाः अपि सन्ति अत्र, अतः सः अन्यः विचारः मास्तु. IKS दृष्ट्या अहं विचारं कुर्वन् अस्मि. यत्किमपि विश्वस्य आदिमं साहित्यम् यदि उपलभ्यते तर्हि ऋग्वेदः इत्यत्र विवादः एव नास्ति. ऋग्वेदः अपि वस्तुतः दृश्यमाने एकं कम्पिलेशन् अस्ति, एकः सङ्ग्रहः अस्ति. प्रथमसाहित्यम् इति यदा वदामः, एकं साहित्यं यदा विरच्यते ततः प्राक् संस्कृतेः तावान् कालः अपेक्षितः. अकस्मात् एकः कश्चन एतादृशं साहित्यं रचयितुं न शक्नोति. तावान् कालः संस्कृतेः अपेक्षितः, विचारस्य अपेक्षा अस्ति. अतः बहोः कालात् पूर्वमेव एवं सूक्तानां मन्त्राणां तत्र दर्शनम् इति, मन्त्रद्रष्टारः इति दृष्ट्या क्रियते चेत् दर्शनमिति वा भवतु, अथवा ऋषिभिः प्रणीतमिति वा भवतु, यथा कथञ्चित् आधुनिकानां वा साम्प्रदायिकानां वा मतं यत्किञ्चित् वा भवतु, ततः पूर्वमेव ऋग्वेदकालात् पूर्वमेव, ऋग्वेदकालः इति किञ्चित् कालं वयम् ऐतिहासिकदृष्ट्या कल्पयामश्चेत् ततः पूर्वमपि अस्माकं संस्कृतिः, अस्माकं विचाराः बहवः आसन् इति गम्यते. अयं विचारः सर्वदा मानवजातेः आरम्भात् आरभ्य अधुना पर्यन्तं सर्वदा अग्रे गच्छति. विचारः द्विविधः ऐहिकः आमुष्मिकश्च अस्माकं सर्वाण्यपि शास्त्राणि वेदोपि एतादृशं विचारद्वयमाश्रित्यैव वर्तते यत्किमपि साहित्यमस्तु इदमेव द्वयम् ऐहिकं वा आमुष्मिकं वा स्यात् तावदेव तत्र ऐहिके अस्माकं न्यायवैशेषिकशास्त्रं धर्मशास्त्रमित्यत्र यत्र लौकिकव्यवहारान् बोधयति तादृशं शास्त्रम् अर्थशास्त्रम् एवं मोक्षशास्त्रेष्वपि यानि शास्त्राणि प्रसिद्धानि सन्ति न्यायवैशेषिक साङ्ख्य योग जैन बौद्ध सर्वाण्यपि शास्त्राणि वा भवन्तु तत्रापि कश्चन भागः ऐहिकं किञ्चित् बोधयति आमुष्मिकं किञ्चित् बोधयति एवञ्च मनुष्यस्य दृष्टिः सर्वदापि ऐहिकं वा आमुष्मिकं वा विचारम् आदायैव प्रवर्तते इति समीचीनं किन्तु गत 200 वर्षात् अथवा 300 वर्षेभ्यः वर्षपर्यन्तमपि पूर्वमपि काचित् समस्या नासीत् यतोहि सर्वे यस्यां भाषायाम् एतादृशम् ऐहिकं वा आमुष्मिकं वा चिन्तनं वर्तते तदवगच्छन्ति तदनुगुणं जीवनं यापयन्ति अतः कश्चन क्लेशो नासीत् ततः परमेव यदा भाषायाः व्यत्यासः एवं इतरासां संस्कृतीनां यदा सम्पर्कः इतरेषां तत्र आक्रमणं वा भवतु इतरेषां तत्र किमस्ति तत्र व्यापारादिकं वा भवतु तेन संस्कृतीनां मेलनेन नूतनाः विचाराः अन्येषामपि वर्तते इति तदानीं गम्यते इदानीं चीनातः कश्चन आगत्य अत्रत्य संस्कृतिम् अध्येति एवं रीत्या अस्माकम् अन्येषां संस्कृतिं जानन्ति इति कृत्वा तदानीं संस्कृतीनां मेलने सति अत्र किमस्ति तत्र किमस्ति इति संवादः आरब्धः वस्तुतः इण्डियन् नालेड्ज् सिस्टम् इत्यस्य इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च् इति यदस्ति तदानीम् आरब्धं यावत्पर्यन्तं वयं भारतीया एव अन्यां संस्कृतिं न जानीमः तावत्पर्यन्तम् इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च् नास्ति यदा इतरासां संस्कृतीनां परिचयः जातः ततः परम् ओ तत्र एवमस्ति वा अत्र एवमस्ति तर्हि किं वैलक्षण्यं किं साधर्म्यं साधर्म्यवैधर्म्यरूपेण आरब्धः अयं विचारः इदम् अनुसन्धानम् इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च् इति एवम् आरब्धं स्यात् इदानीं किं जातम् इत्युक्ते संस्कृतीनां मध्ये अन्तरं बहु अगाधं जातमस्ति अत्यन्तम् अगाधं जातमस्ति किन्तु केवलं संस्कृतेन विषये नास्ति विज्ञानम् इत्यस्य यत् औन्नत्यं प्राप्तमस्ति यः विकासः प्राप्तः अस्ति सोपि एतत् 300 वर्षेष्वेव तदधिकं जातमस्ति तदानीम् अस्माकं भारतीयज्ञानपरम्परायाः परीक्षा संवादः प्रयोजनम् इति स्तरत्रये इदम् अनुसन्धानम् आरब्धमस्ति अस्माकं भारतीयपरम्परायाः वैज्ञानिकदृष्ट्या परीक्षा जायमाना इदम् एकस्य स्तरस्य इंटर्डिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च् अस्ति परीक्षा क्रियते यदुच्यते कणादवैशेषिकशास्त्रे परमाणुः स एव परमाणुः वैज्ञानिकैरुच्यमानः परमाणुः वा अथवा अन्यो वा इदं समीचीनम् उच्यते न वा क्वचित् संवादः इदानीं क्वाण्टम् इत्यत्र अस्माकम् अद्वैतवेदान्तस्य च क्वाण्टम् फिजिक्स् इत्यस्य च संवादः क्वचित् जायमानः वर्तते एवञ्च परीक्षा एवं संवादः क्वचित् निराकरणमपि भवति पुनः अग्रे सर्तुं च अवकाशः भवति एवम् एतादृशीं दृष्ट्यमनुसृत्यैव अद्यत्वेपि भारतीयपरम्परायाः अथवा वैज्ञानिकपरम्परायाश्च परस्परं तुलनात्मकं वा अथवा सहयोगात्मकं वा अध्ययनं अनुसन्धानरूपेण चलदस्ति वस्तुतः इदं समीचीनमेव यतोहि अस्माकं यथा मया आदौ एव उक्तम् अस्माकं शास्त्राणां वा भवतु वेदानां वा भवतु दृष्टिः एतादृशी एव अस्ति ऐहिकम् आमुष्मिकञ्च यदि ऐहिकप्रयोजनाय इतरेषां वैज्ञानिकपद्धतीनाम् अथवा भारतीयज्ञानपरम्परायाः वा यदि सहयोगात्मकम् अध्ययनं भवति तर्हि समीचीनमेव तस्य उपयोगं सर्वे मानवकुलं सर्वं प्राप्नोति, अतः समीचीनमेव। किन्तु समस्या का अस्ति, यथा एतैरुक्तं वैज्ञानिकाः तेषां या अध्ययनपरम्परा तेषां बैकग्राउंड भिन्नमेव अस्ति। अस्माकं संस्कृतछात्राणां मनोधर्मः अन्यः, अस्माकं बैकग्राउंड अन्यत्। प्रामाणिकं वदन्तु, एतैः एतावत्पर्यन्तं दर्शितं खलु, कति % वयम् अवगतवन्तः? शब्दानेव न अवगच्छामः, सर्वे नूतना एव शब्दाः मस्तकादुपरि एव गच्छन्ति। अहं प्रामाणिकं वदामि। किमर्थं? तस्यां विद्याया वयं परिचिता एव न स्मः। केवलं वयं संस्कृतज्ञाः मिलामः, ते वैज्ञानिकाः आगच्छन्तु मिलित्वा कुर्मः इति न भवति। वक्तुं सुन्दरं भवति, श्रोतुं सुन्दरं भवति, इदं तथा न भवति। यावत्पर्यन्तं वैज्ञानिकधारायाः वैज्ञानिकपद्धत्याः अस्माकं परिचयः न स्यात्, तादृश टर्मिनालजी परिचयः ज्ञानं न स्यात्, तर्हि वयमपि किमपि कर्तुं न शक्नुमः। तेपि बहुत्र अस्माकं शास्त्राणाम् उल्लेखं कुर्वन्ति, केवलं शब्दमात्रम् उल्लेखं कुर्वन्ति। अन्तः किमस्ति इति वयमेव जानीमः, ते न जानन्त्येव। इदमपि समीचीनम्। अतः तेषामपि अस्माकं टर्मिनालजी, अस्माकं किञ्चित् ज्ञानपरिचयः अपेक्षितः, अस्माकमपि वैज्ञानिकपद्धत्याः परिचयः अपेक्षितः। तथा सत्येव इदम् इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च IKS इति द्वारा इदं सम्भवितुमर्हति। अन्यथा केवलं कपोलकल्पितमिव किञ्चित् सुन्दरं कार्यक्रमः सुन्दरः जायते इव भवति इति मे मतिः। अतः वस्तुतः शोधछात्राणां भवतां इदानीम् IKS तत्र विधायां यदि अनुसन्धानम् इष्यते, प्राजेक्ट्स् वा अन्यद्वा स्वीकर्तुम् इष्यते, तर्हि विज्ञानस्य परिचयः प्राप्तव्यः। कथञ्चिदपि बेसिक् टेक्स्ट् अध्येतव्यम्, आङ्ग्लभाषया एव अध्येतव्यं। तस्य पुनः अनुवादं पठामि इति चेत् तथा टर्मिनालजी परिचयः न भवति, इदानीम् एवमेव भवति। तैः वस्तुतः सम्यक् तत्र प्रतिपादनं कृतं, किन्तु अवगमनं तु अस्माकं केवलं 15% एव। तथा चेत् प्रयोजनं नास्ति। अतः अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालयस्य ये इदानीं कार्यक्रमसंयोजकाः सन्ति, तानपि अहं निवेदयामि यत् अस्माकं शोधच्छात्राणां कृते विज्ञानपरिचयार्थं कार्यक्रमान् ते आयोजयन्तु। एवं छात्रानपि अहं निवेदयामि यत् स्वपरिश्रमेण विज्ञानस्य परिचयं प्राप्नुवन्तु। तदैव भारतीयज्ञानपरम्परा इति यत् किञ्चित् अत्यन्तं साकारीकर्तुम् अयं प्रयासः जायमानः, भारतसर्वकारपक्षतः एव जायमानः अस्ति, महान् तत्र परिश्रमः जायमानः अस्ति। तदानीं सफली भवति। अन्यथा ध्रुवद्वयम्, उत्तरध्रुवं दक्षिणध्रुवमिति रीत्या तथैव तिष्ठति। कदाचित् बलाद् आनीयते चेदपि तद् मिश्रणं न भवति इत्येव उक्त्वा विरमामि। नमो नमः।
आचार्येभ्यः धन्यवादाः। अहम् इदानीं कार्यक्रमस्य अध्यक्षवर्यान् अनुरुन्धे, ते अद्यतनसत्रस्य मुख्यवक्तारः ये वर्तन्ते कुलकर्णीमहाभागाः, तेषां सम्माननं विदधातु। अनुसन्धानविभागस्य अध्यक्षवर्यान् अनुरुन्धे ते अध्यक्षवर्याणां सम्माननं कुर्वन्ति। धन्यवादसमर्पणाय अहं भट्टवर्यान् आह्वयामि।
एतस्य सत्रस्य सुचारुसञ्चालनं कृतवन्तः न्यायविभागस्य सहाचार्याः डॉक्टर OJP कल्याणशास्त्रीमहाभागाः। तेषां सम्माननं विधातुम् अहम् अस्य सत्रस्य अध्यक्षान् आचार्यान् सतीश महोदयान् सम्प्रार्थये। स्कोप ऑफ इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च इन IKS इति विषयम् उपलक्ष्य श्रीमन्तः अण्णाराव कुलकर्णी महाभागाः समीचीनतया PPT द्वारा मार्गदर्शनं कृतवन्तः। तेभ्यः अनुसन्धानप्रकाशनविभागपक्षतः हार्दाः धन्यवादाः। एवमेव इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी रिसर्च विषये समीचीनतया मार्गदर्शनं कृतवन्तः अध्यक्षाः आचार्याः सतीश महोदयाः, तेभ्यः अपि हार्दाः धन्यवादाः। एवमेव अस्य सत्रस्य सञ्चालनं कृतवन्तः कल्याणशास्त्रीमहाभागाः, तेभ्यः अपि हार्दाः धन्यवादाः समर्प्यन्ते। सम्प्रति इदं सत्रं सम्पन्नं भवति, अतः धन्यवादाः। सर्वेपि छात्राः किञ्चित् कालम् उपविशन्तु।